Welcome back to another edition of the North Star Takes podcast. I'm Bailey Palicki. He's Jacob Liberta. We're a Minnesota sports podcast. So if you're a Minnesota sports fan, smash that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Today we're going to be talking Minnesota Wild. Obviously, the best team we got going in the state right now. I mean, just super exciting squad to watch. They defeated the Detroit Red Wings 7-4. Great game all the way around. Got a little close at the end when Detroit decided to pull their goalie with some time left, kind of pulling a move that the Wild do, honestly. But huge game from Matt Boldy as he had a hat trick and an assist. Kirill Kaprizov had 2 goals and an assist. Zuccarello had 3 assists. And just a great all-around offensive game once again from the Wild. They play just incredibly in front of their home crowd. But really the star of the show, Matt Boldy, I mean, this guy's a rookie. He gets a hat trick. He looked like the best player on the ice last night, and that says a lot considering how good Kaprizov looked too. I mean, what are your thoughts on this guy? Do you think this is a potential superstar in the making? Do you think this is just kind of a little hot streak he's on? Because honestly, I didn't really know what to expect from him when he was first called up here. You know, what was it, a month and a half ago or something like that? And I mean, he's been so impressive since he's been up here. He's way more skilled than I thought he was. I knew he was a bigger body, but I mean, this guy is just absolutely fantastic. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on Boldy? And do you think he's becoming another superstar here for the Minnesota Wild?
You know, it's really hard to project with Boldy because on the one hand, he was taken with a higher draft pick. It was, I think, one of Paul Fenton's draft picks, actually, but
Yes,
it was a first round pick nonetheless. And I think it was like in the 10 to 12 range, somewhere in there. So, I mean, he was a premier prospect when he was coming out. So I think that's noteworthy. But at the same time, when he was coming through the ranks in the AHL, everybody would pound the table for him as far as goal scoring, but it didn't feel like the all-around game was necessarily there. But he's certainly proven it in a small sample size here that he can really do it all. He's been massive for Fiala's production. It's just night and day. So I think that's as important as his own scoring goes. And really, it seems like the sky's the limit for this guy too. I mean, it feels like we have a lot of those players, but at the same time, it can't get too caught up in a hot streak like this. I mean, albeit the start of career in 13 games as he has with 7 goals and 7 assists, that's certainly making a statement. But at the same time, we've got to pump the brakes a little bit, see how he looks over the course of another year or two, and then kind of go from there. But certainly the potential is there. Like, obviously, if you're seeing a flash now, I mean, who's to say he couldn't sustain this over a season's long worth of games? I mean, obviously not at this pace where he has 14 points in 13 games, but still, I mean, you never know. If you can do this as a rookie, who's to say what's stopping you from growing a lot in your next couple of years as you really get your feet wet and get acclimated in the NHL, which is I think is a pretty hard game to really get in the groove of, just because there aren't a lot of young players who thrive right away in the NHL, and I think Boldy's certainly making it known that he's definitely ready for this opportunity and at a very young age.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of circling back to a point you made about how he's really helped Kevin Fiala turn his season around, finally giving Fiala just a really good skilled wing to play with on that line. That's kind of changed the narrative of Kevin Fiala now. You know, a few months ago, people were talking about, is he going to get traded? He was struggling. He was snake bitten. He wasn't scoring goals. He was growing frustrated. You could tell. I think Evason, I don't remember if he was, I don't think he was ever like a healthy scratch, but he was demoted a couple times to the 4th line. He was benched in third periods and stuff like that. So Evason, tried sending messages to Fiala, but really what it comes down to is Fiala's not the playmaker that Kaprizov is in terms of, puck handling, passing. I mean, Fiala can do some of that stuff, but he's not even close to the same level. So he really needs another skilled player on his line to kind of help elevate his game even more. And there's nothing wrong with that because, it's hard to expect everyone to be like a Kaprizov in terms of playmaking. But the chemistry you've seen from Boldy and Fiala has just been phenomenal. And obviously that's a combination you want to keep together, just like Kaprizov and Zuccarello is. So it'll be interesting to see if they do try to upgrade the center spot on that line.
Exactly.
I mean, Goudreau's been playing well as of late too, so it's kind of hard to say they need to shake things up. Although, it's tough to trust Gaudreau, especially in a playoff setting, just because he hasn't really proven it over his career. But Yeah, just the emergence of Kevin Fiala has been huge, I think, and a large chunk of that credit goes to Matt Boldy just for how well he's been playing. But even looking further down the road too, like I think if Fiala does end up moving on, and Zuccarello won't be around forever, I think Boldy and Kaprizov could make a really good pairing somewhere down the line too, just because they're both excellent passers. They both see the ice really well. They both also seem to just be like one step ahead of the play, and they find ways to create space for themselves, and they're never panicked when they have the puck. Um, so I could really see those two being a really nice pairing together, kind of like Zuccarello and Kaprizov are right now. So yeah, just super exciting stuff from the Wild here, and it's incredible how we cut Parise and Suter. We're supposed to be in this cap hell, but now we're gonna have the emergence of a guy like Matt Boldy. We still got Marco Rossi waiting in the wings, and a bevy of other prospects that could potentially turn into something too. It's hard to believe that this team could actually still be sitting in a really good spot even a couple of years from now when we have no salary cap space.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think these have been huge contributions from a guy like Boldy when he's obviously being on an entry level contract is not making that much money. So I think that's what you need when you're in a cap bind like we are, like you just mentioned with the Parisi and Suter buyouts. I mean, you kind of need that to still keep yourself in relevance. And I think they've taken it a step farther than that, not only being relevant, but taking us to that next step that Parisi and Suter can never get us to, albeit they got to go out and prove it in the playoffs, but still it feels like we're trending in that direction, which is great. And going back to the pairings you were talking about, Zuccarello, Kaprizov, now we got Boldy and Fiala. I would dare to say that it's almost like, obviously in different ways, but in the same way, kind of. That's like Kaprizov is the Zuccarello as Boldy is the Fiala as far as his time here goes. Just because, I mean, Fiala, if Boldy didn't bring the best out of him like he is, I mean, who knows where he'd be at? Like you said, he had those struggles early on. Didn't really know if Fiala really fit on this team and if he maybe could be traded mid-season. I mean, that was certainly on the table. But then Boldy's really brought in the best out of him, just like Kaprizov's brought in the best out of Zuccarello. So it's really all about the fit and all about the line combinations and finding what works. And once you do, you just kind of ride with it because this is incredible production that we're getting right now. And then to really add a new layer to that and make it even better is really the biggest question facing the Wild at the trade deadline. Really is can Frederick Gaudreau be that center on the second line, or should we make a move for a guy like Claude Giroux if, let's say, he doesn't go to Colorado? I'd imagine Minnesota's pretty high on that list, as reported by a Colorado Hockey Reporter today. So there's a lot of questions, but not necessarily anything bad because we've been playing great hockey in 2022 here, and ever since that bad Winter Classic on January 1st at Target Field, I think the Wild have been on the up and up. They've been winning games right and left, and I hope to see that continue. And just gotta hope we stay healthy too. That's another lurking factor there. But yeah, going back to it, just I'd love to upgrade at center between Boldy and Fiala and see how much we can really get out of them and see if we can hit a new potential or new maximum level they just never thought possible.
Yeah, and I think if there's a time to go for it, it's now. This is basically the one season where you can afford to bring on a contract that has some decent cap hit to it. Mm-hmm. So like a guy like Claude Giroux, even if he's a rental, it makes sense. Maybe it goes super well here and he's willing to come back on a decent deal that's not going to hinder your cap situation, although we're going to struggle enough just to sign Fiala long-term if we even want to. So
sure.
I'm guessing if they do make a move, it will be a rental. But yeah, just to add even more star power into that mix with our top six forwards we got going right now. And, Joel Eriksson Ek is the best center on the team, but he's playing on the third line technically too. So like, you can't forget that. You can't forget that either, that, he's had a really good season and he's down playing on the third line with Greenway and Foligno. So this team's it's incredible how deep this team is. It's incredible the contributions they're getting. And I think I saw it best. I think it might have been John Butchergrass tweeted it because someone asked him what he thought about the Wild. And he's like, they have, star-studded players, but the biggest thing is there's no passengers on this team. Everybody contributes, everybody plays hard, and that's just the ultimate testament to Bill Guerin and Dean Evison, and also Jared Spurgeon and Marcus Foligno and even Matt Dumba, all the captains on the team, just the culture that everybody's set, the expectations that are in place, and just the whole it really just feels like a family, the team. Matt Boldy's wearing a Kevin Fiala shirt that's got a heart on it in his post-game presser. Like, I mean, these guys are so close, and that's got all the makings of a team that could potentially make a run in the playoffs.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, kind of circling it back to Boldy here to wrap it up, really, I would say I wonder how much production he really has to have down the stretch here to maybe get himself in that Calder Trophy conversation. I don't really know what that race looks like at this point. I haven't looked too much into it, but let's make it back-to-back Wild winners, huh?
Yeah, that'd be insane. I'd have to imagine it's going to be tough since he's only played 13 games so far, and he's going to miss, basically a whole half of a season. But I don't know. Maybe if he gets on a tear and puts up some insane numbers down the stretch here, he's got a chance. Because I'm kind of with you. I don't exactly know what the race looks like, but I'd have to imagine there's a couple of rookies that are doing pretty well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, and that'd say a lot about the Wild too if they could have two rookies in a row to win that Calder Trophy. But
Yes.
granted, Kaprizov was kind of a seasoned player when he came over, but
Yeah. This would be like a true rookie player.
Yeah, it would be for sure. And yeah, I'm in love with this team, man. They're such a joy to watch, and it took guts to do what Guerin did this last offseason, and he just did it, and he didn't care what people thought. And it's, he's already reaping the benefits, even if it might hurt us a little bit in a couple of years. This team is just way better than they were even last season.
Yeah, exactly. He was confident. He stuck to his guns and went with his gut. And like you said, he's reaping the benefits. He's living large now. Now we just got to put together a playoff run to show for it.
Absolutely. So I'd imagine we'll start seeing some Boldy jerseys in the X. Maybe not this season, but I'd imagine starting next season you'll see some Boldy jerseys along with the Kaprizovs and maybe the Eriksson X and such. So that's going to do it for this edition of the North Star Takes podcast. Be sure to hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and give this video a like. Feel free to follow us on both Twitter and Instagram, and leave your comments below. What are your thoughts on Matt Boldy? Do you think he's the next superstar for the Minnesota Wild? How high do you think his potential is? And just your thoughts on the team in general. So until next time, thanks for watching.